All right, so last week I was supposed to record an episode of the show, but life was lifing and I couldn't quite get to it. So much like that Christmas gift that you didn't want, I'm going to be re-gifting part of this intro for this week. With that being said, coming up, we got a whole lot of holiday hoops to talk about, and that's word to Nate Burleson's Yuletide Fit. We're going to talk about the fallout from the Christmas Day games. Last time on the show was all about the MVPs. This week, we're talking MIP. I'm going to give you my top 5 candidates for most improved player. Plus, we'll discuss the shine possibly being off in Golden State, one final Emirates Cupdate, questions from a viewer, and this day in NBA history. I know, we got a lot to discuss, Coco, but don't worry, I'm here to be your guide through this week in the NBA. Let's get it. By the way, Coco Jones' album, Fire, one of my favorites.
So don't ask me for no presents, I'm here. Hey, I feel like the Grinch, no Christmas cheer. If you ask me for some presents, I'm here. Yeah. Santa, please. Can I get some presents for the tree? Can I get some icy for my teeth? Can I get some Nikes for my niece? Look, I got a long list, but I'm on the wrong list. This ain't right here. Man, you ain't seen my flow, you ain't seen my clothes. Look, I've been nice all year, I digress. If I ain't make the list, I ain't stressed. I still got some time, I'll finesse. Santa wanna act out different now. I'ma go chill with the Grinch.
All I want for Christmas is hoops. Yeah. Yo, the NBA on Christmas is a holiday tradition that goes all the way back to 1947, the league's second year of existence. Over the years, the association has given its fans great Christmas memories like Wilt's 59 and 36 in 1961, Bernard King's 60-point game in 1984, and Shaq v. Kobe in 2004. In more modern times, the game has given us a D Rose game winner in 2011 and another one from Kyrie Irving in 2016. Christmas games are seen by many as the unofficial start of the NBA season and was a spotlight that the league had into itself until 2020. That's when the NFL started playing games on Christmas, showing up unannounced like Cousin Eddie and family on National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Eddie?
Oh, the house is gorgeous, Clark.
Eddie?
But as for me and my household, we're watching the NBA on Christmas Day. So let's recap these games. Kicking off the day were the Cavs at the Knicks. The Knicks overcame a 16-point fourth quarter deficit to defeat the Cavs 126-124. Jalen Brunson was the star as usual, scoring 34 and hitting some clutch shots. But I want to show some love to Tyler Kolek and Mitchell Robinson. Kolek scored 11 of his 16 points in the fourth quarter to help New York erase the deficit. Robinson had 8 big offensive rebounds, most of them during that fourth quarter stretch as well. Mitchell is grabbing 62% of the Knicks' offensive rebounds, and when he does, the Knicks are converting those opportunities into three-pointers. Fred Katz, who covers the Knicks and the NBA for The Athletic, had been tracking Robinson's offensive rebounding and noted that 74% of the time when Mitchell Robinson gathers a missed shot, it leads to a three. As for the Cavs, they're now 17-15 and sit at 7th in the East and are trending in the wrong direction, with recent losses to the Hornets and the Bulls twice. Donovan Mitchell is still him, but Lonzo Ball hasn't been able to replicate the impact that Ty Jerome had for the team last year. Darius Garland is still rounding into shape after missing the early part of the season, and Evan Mobley has taken a step back from the All-NBA player that he was last year. The good news is they're only a game back of the top 4 seed, but the Cavs are going to need to see some serious improvement if they don't want to go from the top of the East to the play-in. Next, we had the Spurs going into OKC and putting another smackdown on the Thunder, 117-102, their third victory over the champs in 12 days. Before that semifinal showdown in NBA Cup, the Thunder were 24-1, and we were wondering if 74 wins was a real possibility. Now, after 4 losses in 6 games, 3 of them to the now 2-seed Spurs, we have to wonder if this is even the best team in the West. Now, the good news for the Thunder? The season didn't end on Christmas, and there's still plenty of time to prove that they're the best team in the West, including 2 more games against the Spurs. The bad news? The schedule's going to get a lot more difficult, as almost 40% of their remaining games are against the best team in the league, including 2 more games against the Spurs. Remember last time when I said the Spurs would use the NBA Cup to announce to the league that they were here? Yeah, they're like the Bizarro Thunder. They have size, can defend multiple positions easily, and can score at all three levels. And that's just Wemby. But on the real, they have precocious young talent in Castle, Vassell, and Harper, dope vets like De'Aaron Fox, Luke Cornett, and even one with championship experience in Harrison Barnes. They have the up-and-coming young coach in Mitch Johnson, and last but not least, the MVP-level superstar in Victor Wembanyama. It's almost like...
See you peeping this man? They taking all our moves. What's our move like that? Look, that's your move right there.
One final note as we move forward between these two. In the NBA, regular season success against one team doesn't always equate to postseason success. Yes, the Spurs have won all three matchups thus far, with the final two by an average margin of 17.5 points. But that doesn't mean that OKC won't be able to win 4 out of 7 when the stakes are higher, and when they can game plan to take away what San Antonio does best. Go back to the 2010-11 season, the first year the Heat was in Miami. The Chicago Bulls swept the season series against the Heat and were the #1 seed going into the playoffs. None of that mattered once we got into the postseason, as Miami were going to complete a gentleman's sweep of the Bulls on their way to the finals. There are the rare exceptions where the regular season serves as foreshadowing of what was to come. The 2006 Golden State Warriors were an awful matchup for the Dallas Mavericks, beating them and the eventual MVP Dirk Nowitzki in 3 out of the 4 games during the season. The Mavericks would suffer the same fate in the playoffs, losing in 6 games to the We Believe Warriors. Basketball is for sure about the Jimmies and the Joes, the X's and the O's, but almost as important as those two are the mental. Regardless of what happens in the future, the Spurs can look at the scoreboard and feel confident that the Thunder have nothing on them in the present. It'll be imperative for OKC to win one, if not both, of their remaining games against San Antonio to give them confidence that they can win a playoff series against them. In the third game of the slate, the Golden State Warriors handled the Mavericks 126-116. Dallas, who's been showing promise of late, lost Anthony Davis to a groin injury in the second quarter, the 13th such groin-related injury of his career. But it's not all doom and gloom for the Mavs. The team has not some impressive wins over quality teams such as Denver, Miami, Houston, and Detroit in the last couple of weeks. Cooper Flagg has been balling, averaging 24.6 points, 7 rebounds, and 5.4 assists over his last 5, including 33 in their win over Denver. Remember all the flack Jason Kidd got for having him run point? Listen to Devin Harris on the impact that experiment is having on Flagg's recent success.
And I think Jay Kidd's talked about it numerous times in the press conference, before and after the game. There was a method to that madness. And it was more so to understand the reads that he needs to make. Mm-hmm. So obviously with the volume that he saw early in the season, running the pick and roll, understanding what he's looking for. Now when he gets that ball in the half court and he runs that pick and roll with AD, runs that pick and roll with Gav or PJ, he knows what he's looking for. Yeah. He's making the right reads in the drop of a dime and knowing where the ball needs to go. And I think all of those things that happened, the turnovers and the struggle in the beginning of the season, we're starting to see pay off, especially now in the fourth quarter, in overtime, because he's got the ball in his hands.
The Warriors, led by Steph Curry's 23 points, notched their 3rd win in a row to improve to 16-15 on the season. Their record reflects what their season has been thus far, mid. It's no fault of Steph Curry, though, who recently passed Michael Jordan for the most 40-point games for a player over the age of 30 with 45 such games. They got a really good game from Jimmy Buckets, who almost had a triple-double with 14, 9, and 9, and Al Horford chipped in with 4 3-pointers in the first quarter. But we'll stop there when talking about Golden State. We got more on them later in the show. The Rockets defeated the Lakers in a game where they never truly were threatened after the first quarter, 119-96. Amen Thompson and Kevin Durant led the team in scoring with 26 and 25 respectively. There's been a trend in the league of utilizing double big lineups to emphasize offensive rebounding, and the Rockets are leading the way as they are first in the league in offensive rebounding rate at 41.1%. The Rockets hammered the Lakers on the boards, snatching 17 offensive rebounds that led to 24 second chance points. The Lakers gave their fans a lump of coal for Christmas and some added heartburn after MIP candidate Austin Reeves left the game with the scariest 2 words in the league right now: calf strain. LeBron James posted a -33 plus minus, the 3rd worst of his career. The Lakers only had one more defensive rebound than the Rockets had offensive boards and were destroyed in points off turnovers 23-11. The Lakers were out-rebounded, out-hustled, out-executed, out-everything against Houston, and head coach J.J. Redick didn't mince words in the post-game presser.
Or we practice them all the time. It's not, again, it goes back to what I said the other night. It's a matter of making the choice. And too often we have guys that don't want to make that choice. And it's pretty consistent who those guys are. And so Saturday's practice, I told the guys, it's going to be uncomfortable. The meeting is going to be uncomfortable. I'm not doing another 53 games like this.
One last thing I want to point out. This chart shows the various on-off court efficiencies of the Lakers' big three. The net rating of LeBron when paired with Reeves and Luka aren't great at -7.1. They also aren't that good when paired with one of Luka or Reeves. The good news? This is a small sample size. The Lakers are a top-heavy team that will only go as far as these three take them. They'll need to figure out how to make this ensemble work if they want to stamp themselves as a true contender in the West. Finally, the NBA saved the best for last, as one of the best rivalries in the league gave us an OT banger as Denver outlasted Minnesota 142-138. Look, I know Anthony Edwards doesn't want to be the face of the league, but I'm just going to tell you, young man, you don't have a choice. Not when you're hitting shots like this. I can't put into words how difficult a shot like this is. I just want you to admire an artist at work. Edwards had 44 points and was cooking until he got tossed by the refs late in OT. And as he left the court, you can see he was feeling the holiday spirit with the ho-ho-hos on his way out the door. Not to be outdone, Nikola Jokic went for 56, 15, and 16. The Joker, as we all know, is a walking triple-double, but he puts a little extra in the clip for Minnesota. Look at this tweet from Ben Houselog. Jokic has 20, 30, 50, and 60-point triple-doubles all against Minnesota. But beyond that, this series has had all of the drama lately. These teams are 5-5 against each other in their last 10 games, with the Nuggets currently on a 3-game winning streak. The Nuggets win streak matches the T-Wolves, who had a 3-game win streak prior. There are lots of playoff matchups on my wish list for this year, but this one tops the list. And that's a wrap on the Christmas Day games. Jump in the comments and let me know what was your favorite game or moment from Christmas Day. Let's talk most improved players. If you watched my previous drop, I discussed some of the criteria that voters look for when making selections for postseason awards. Check that out along with all the other videos on the channel. Help a brother out. Anyway, before I get into my top 5, let me show some love to my honorable mention, Keontae George, Josh Giddey, and Nickeil Walker-Alexander. Now, coming in at number 5, Ryan Rollins. Ryan was drafted in the 2nd round by the Atlanta Hawks out of Toledo. He was traded on draft night to the Golden State Warriors, where a year later he was traded again to Washington and ultimately waived. He signed a 2-way contract with Milwaukee and was able to parlay that into a 3-year, $12 million deal with them this offseason. He's gone from averages of 6-1-1 a year ago to 17-5-4 this year and received praise from none other than Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, I think I've been in the NBA 13 years. I've played, probably have 200, 300 teammates in my career, played against a lot of players. A jump for a guy that came 2 years ago on the team to a 2-way contract, to a non-guarantee, to a guarantee, and to the player that he is today. I don't think I've seen a jump like that in my career. This kid works extremely hard every single day. People don't see, people see only what he does on the court. But like I see all the preparation, the way he takes care of his body, the way he talks, the way he watches films with Rondo, the way he watches film by himself, the way he talks to his teammate and interact with the coaching staff. It's incredible. I'm proud of him. But hey, this is what it takes to be a leader on a team. You gotta be able to handle the ups and downs. And I think he has a great mindset to stay on course, do the right thing, and try to turn this thing around.
Ryan has recently gone from starter to sub, but make no mistake, he has been one of the few bright spots in Minnesota's season after the Greek Freak. Number 4, Jalen Johnson. Jalen was taken with the 20th pick of the first round by the Hawks. Johnson was likely a top 5 for MIP last season before a shoulder injury sidelined him for the remainder of the season. This year was off to a good start, but then the Trae Young injury allowed Johnson to act as more of a primary ball handler. The results? In games without Trae Young, Jalen is averaging 23, 11, and 9 this season. His usage rate is up to 26.1, and his assist rate is up from 20% to 35%. Jalen is cementing himself as one of the core pieces of an Atlanta team that has designs on being a playoff team this year. Number 3, Jalen Duren. If you tune into the show, you know how I feel about Jalen. Duren was taken by the Pistons with the 13th pick of the first round out of Memphis in 2022. He was second team All-Rookie and has only gotten better each year. He's averaging a career high in points with 18 a game, up 7 points from last year. He and Cade Cunningham are a devastating combo in the pick and roll, with Duren in the mid-90 percentile as a finisher at the rim, and he's also top 5 in points in the paint. Up next at number 2, Austin Reeves. The Lakers' fifth-year guard went undrafted and signed a 2-way contract with the Lakers in 2021. He worked his way from bench player to starter to the third man in the Big Three when the Lakers acquired Luka Doncic from the Mavericks. This year, Reeves has gone from supporting cast to one of the leading men of Hollywood. He's averaging career highs in points, rebounds, and assists with a career high in usage rate. He has become a locked-in number 2 on a team with Luka Doncic and LeBron James. And Austin's just not coasting on Luka's coattails. Here are his numbers when Luka's not playing. The Lakers are also 3-2 in those 5 games. Austin should be in line for his first All-Star appearance and a shot at All-NBA headed into a year where he has a player option going into free agency. And at number 1, Deni Avdija. Now you might be saying who? But that's why you watch this show, so I can put you up on game. Part of the reason you may not be up on Deni is he was drafted in the first round by the Wizards in 2020. After 4 mostly quiet years in Washington, he was traded to Portland in the summer of 2024. This move afforded him more opportunity, and at the end of last year, he started to put up some of the best numbers of his career. He's expanded on that, and now he leads the Trailblazers in scoring and assists. He's the Blazers' number 1 option on offense and has them in a play-in spot at the start of the second quarter of the season. Those are my top 5 for most improved player. Who's in your top 5? Jump in the comments and let's chop it up. One final cup date. The New York Knicks are your 2025 NBA Cup champions. They beat the San Antonio Spurs in a banger of a matchup, 124-111. Jalen Brunson was voted MVP, but this game was about the grit of Josh Hart and OG Anunoby making winning plays on defense, Tyler Kolek doing the little things that don't end up in the box score, and the offensive rebounding of Mitchell Robinson. The Knicks haven't won a chip in 52 years, so you would think Knicks fans would be excited to celebrate winning something, right?
5 seconds left. Here we go. Here we go.
But it's that you look stuck, we got you for the plus. Ain't out of luck, what the fuck you say? I get them off the top.
The Knicks won.
What you heard about Woozy Woos about the word spray?
The Knicks won. Nobody cares.
They just won.
Nobody cares. I'm in New York. Hold on, let me go outside. The Knicks won. Nobody cares. The Knicks won. Yo, I'm out of here, man.
Shout out to Mickey Fax, a man on the street, for getting the reaction. It was later reported that the team wouldn't put up a banner commemorating the win. This led to a bunch of discourse about whether the cup matters or if it should be taken seriously. The answer, yes, it should. I talked about this last week, but the cup was modeled after soccer, which has in-season tournaments that teams compete in. These tourneys give teams something to strive for, and when they win, look at the reaction from Crystal Palace after they won the FA Cup last year. The FA Cup is the largest soccer tournament in England. Look at the players. Look at that emotion. Look at that shirtless mob. Good luck telling this team or their fans their first trophy in team history doesn't matter. Okay, you might be saying, A1, that's their first title ever. Of course they're overjoyed. Cool, I got another one for you. Look at the joy of Jokic and the Serbian national team as they celebrate winning a third-place game in the Olympics. Not first, third. Y'all remember this? This isn't Knicks fans after winning a playoff series. This is them after game 1 of the 21 season. Maybe that's the big takeaway from the NBA Cup. If you want to see fans celebrate, you need to have these games take place at home sites instead of a neutral one. But listen to Fred Katz of the Athletics NBA Daily on why he thinks the Knicks won't put up a banner.
Knicks received the trophy. Mike Brown receives the trophy. Jalen Brunson receives the trophy.
Yep.
They all celebrate. They all seem genuinely excited that they won.
Yeah.
James Dolan does not accept the trophy, but it was notable that James Dolan didn't do it because James Dolan has had a very public, we'll say...
Kerfuffle?
No, it's not a kerfuffle. A kerfuffle is quick.
Yeah. This is a beef.
This is a beef.
A grudge.
It's a beef with the league
Gets cooked
office.
pretty quickly.
And with Adam Silver.
All right, let's just go to the next segment. Let's talk about the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors made headlines this past week when their owner Joe Lacob responded to a frustrated fan email. When the Warriors made the trade for Jimmy Butler at the deadline last year, many thought that was the piece they needed to become title contenders once again. Based on the result, who could blame them? The Warriors went 23-7 after the trade, and who knows what would have happened had they not lost Steph to injury in the Western Conference Semis versus Minnesota. Coming into this season, the conventional wisdom had the Warriors as a fringe top 4 team, with the top 6 being their floor. That hasn't manifested thus far, as the Warriors are 1 game over 500 and sit in 8th place in the Western Conference. Steph has missed 9 games thus far due to injury, but even when he's been on the floor, it hasn't changed much despite his brilliance. So what's exactly going wrong with Golden State? First, they're old. The Warriors are the 2nd oldest team in the league with an average age of 29 years old. A team that was so heavily reliant on Steph, Draymond, Buddy Hield, and Jimmy Butler last year added Al Horford in free agency, and he's only played 15 games this year. These are all players on the backside of their primes or in the twilight of their careers. Hield's minutes have been decreasing as of late as well. Draymond is still good, but he's not the generational Swiss Army knife that he was. But he's still a Hall of Fame crash out. Speaking of faded glory, a Steph Curry offensive explosion in his prime would demoralize opponents, energize his teammates, as well as fans, and turn the tide of many a game. These days, a Steph 40 burger is the equivalent of that meme of the Lambo parked by the trailer home. This is crystallized in this on-off data from cleaning the glass. This particular analytic looks at on-off court efficiency along with assigning where the player ranks in the percentile. EXPW stands for expected wins. With Steph on the court last year, the Warriors performed like a 55-win team with him on the court, and he was in the 81st percentile. Without him, the Warriors performed like a 38-win team or 17 games worse. I know that says plus, but trust me, I read the guide on this several times to make sure I understood it. This year, with Steph, the Warriors are performing like a 45-win team, and he's only in the 59th percentile. Without him, they're performing like a 43-win team, or only 2 games worse. Okay, so let me explain the discrepancy in what you're seeing on your screen and what you're hearing from me in the voiceover. So, when I normally record these, I'm capturing a moment in time in which I get my video and my photos together so that everything matches up. I forgot to take the screenshot that showed it was a 45 expected win total and only 2 games worse without Steph. So, what you're seeing now, they played a couple of more games since then. They're still an expected 45-win team, but the team is playing slightly better when Steph is off the floor, and thus the number says -1 instead of +2. My bad, y'all. Players mess up too. Carry on. At this point, Steph's greatness is not changing games for the Warriors, and that's because the margins have slimmed considerably. Speaking of slim, one of the criticisms the fan had about the Warriors is the team is too small. Quote, the team is in need of a real second option. Jimmy Butler's tools are being underutilized because he is playing as a power forward due to the small position players. We have no true center, end quote. Now, Golden State took small ball from just a hot line and made it a hot song. But it seems they keep trying to recreate the magic of that original hit, and it's not the same. The Warriors only deploy 2 players 6'9" or taller, Trace Jackson Davis and Quentin Post. With double big lineups becoming more in vogue, and with teams starting younger and more athletic players on a nightly basis, the Warriors are at a disadvantage, which leads us to their draft history. For a team that once boasted that they were light years ahead of the rest of the league, they haven't been able to duplicate the genius that saw them draft Steph, Clay, and Draymond over the course of 3 years. They've drafted good players like Jordan Poole. Let's not think about Jordan right now. Let's move on to the 20 and 21 drafts in particular. James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, and Moses Moody were supposed to be the bridge that connected Golden State's past and present to their future. Unfortunately, that never materialized. James Wiseman only lasted 3 years before he was traded to the Pistons. Now, if you're wondering, yes, Wiseman is still in the league, stuck at the end of the bench for the Pacers. Moses Moody is a contributor, but not the difference maker he was believed to be when drafted. This brings us to Kuminga. Kuminga was thought to be someone who could take some of the defensive responsibility from Draymond, but with more offensive upside. And when he's at his best, Kuminga is exactly that. The problem is there's too much inconsistency, and the second Steve Kerr sees that, the DNPs soon come. Jonathan going back and forth out of the lineup has been one of fans' biggest issues with Kerr. He addressed Jonathan's playing time in a recent interview on 95.7 The Game.
I've talked to him about it. He's had some really good practices this past week. And the pendulum always swings. So, I'm just encouraging Jonathan to stay ready for when his opportunity comes back.
To top it all off, when you look at who the Warriors missed out on, it makes the misses of the current group even worse. Golden State passed on LaMelo to take Wiseman. The next year, Franz Wagner went 1 pick after Kuminga, and the following players went after Moses Moody: Alperen Sengun, Trey Murphy, and Jalen Johnson. Ouch. So to put it all together, the Warriors are too old, too small, and haven't developed an above-average draft pick since Jordan Poole. They don't have great assets to chase a star like Giannis and lack cap flexibility because they're dangerously close to the second apron. The team that once claimed to be light years ahead needs to find the keys to the DeLorean and head back to the future to see if they can find a better path than their present. I got this question from a viewer and I wanted to bring it here. From Mo Mitchell: would Michael Jordan be a standalone player in today's NBA, with most players being able to do Jordan-like things? The simple answer: yes. In every era, the NBA has the best of the best athletes, but there are always players whose play and athleticism stands out, from Elgin Baylor to David Thompson to Dr. J to Michael Jordan. These are players whose play and athleticism stood out above their peers in their time. Take today's game. Anthony Edwards is a player whose play and athleticism stands out from his peers. If you were to ask fans who are the top 3 in-game dunkers today, Ant-Man would be a consensus pick. Most athletic? Edwards. Players jump high, Edwards jumps higher. So yes, MJ would still be MJ in today's game. The better question is, how would Jordan navigate social media in a 24/7 news cycle? MJ wasn't very accessible, and his brand was built via brilliant marketing ads. In a sports landscape that is always vying for your time, attention, and money, would he feel the need to be more visible to enhance his standing amongst fans? I don't think he'd be LeBron, an ever-present player entity who has his hands in TV shows, podcasts, and a robust social media presence. I don't think he'd be like Anthony Edwards, an effervescent player who lights up every room he steps into with his personality. I also don't think he'd be Kawhi Leonard, a recluse who does some national ads, but in general we don't know much about, unless Pablo Torre is reporting on him. I think Jordan in today's game would be more like Jason Tatum, a personality that doesn't really make waves, has some social media presence, but doesn't do too many candid interviews. How do you think Michael Jordan will move in today's social media landscape? Jump in the comments and let me know. In today's NBA history, Scott Skiles will set an NBA record, handing out 30 assists and a 155-116 win over the Denver Nuggets. A first-round pick of the Milwaukee Bucks in the 1986 draft, Skiles would spend 10 years in the NBA across 5 teams. But the best years of his career would happen when he was selected by the Orlando Magic in the 1989 expansion draft. In 1990, the same year he set the assist record, he would be named the most improved player in the league. Once his playing career was done, he would embark upon a coaching career, first as an assistant with the Phoenix Suns, then coaching the Suns as the lead guy for 3 years, followed by stops with Milwaukee, Chicago, and finally with the Orlando Magic. All right, that's my time. But before you hit the exit, jump in the comments and let me know what's the best thing you saw in the NBA this week, plus what games you're looking forward to. Also, hit the like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can tap in to know more about this week in the NBA. Y'all be easy. Peace.